Hey everyone, welcome to PE for week number 8. Wow, week 8, it is flying by. Now, what we're going to do this week is we are all going to focus on prep all the way to grade 6. We're going to focus on Indigenous traditional games. Now, the preps, the twos, the last few weeks you've been learning some rules and some new games, and now we're going to start to learn different kinds of games, traditional Indigenous games. Now, these games are Yulunga traditional Indigenous games. Now, Yulunga means playing in the language of the Kamilaroi people of northern western New South Wales. These games, we are going to play a selection of activities from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander societies all around Australia. Now, we'll be able to learn and experience some aspects of Indigenous culture through these games. All of these games have been passed down by generations of Indigenous Australians, and these games all have a bit of a story and background behind them. So we'll be able to learn through the culture as I explain what they may have used traditionally to play the games, but we're going to use modern equipment and things you guys have around the house to participate in these games. So each game that I explain will also have a background story, okay, of how they played it, what did they do, how did they play games as Indigenous Australians. So I think it'll be a really fun PE lesson for you guys. You're going to learn a bit about Indigenous culture, how they used to play games and activities, and you'll be able to do this all in your own home, which is, I think, awesome. So get ready for today's lesson. It's going to be lots of fun. Make sure you try and learn something, and let's get into it with the first game. Oh no, you found me, good job. Alright guys, the first game we're going to play, Indigenous game we're going to play is called Brajarak. Now, Brajarak, as you could maybe guess, is very similar to hide and seek, but let's go into a little bit more detail of how the Indigenous people, how they used to play it. Brajarak. Background. Many different types of hide and seek games were played in Australia and the Torres Strait Islands. A game played in one part of Victoria in the later part of the 1800s was called Brajarak, the Wild Man. It was essentially a game of hide and seek whereby a player would hide in a wombat hole and would need to be dug out of this hiding place. It is a simple game of hide and seek, suitable for everyone. You'll need a group of players. We can do it with just 2 people for this game and a suitable area. Gameplay and basic rules. The Brajarak hides in the playing area and other players attempt to find him or her. Change around after the Brajarak has been caught. So once you find the Brajarak, change over. There's a few different variations of this game of how you can play it. Have a number of Brajaraks. After 3 have been caught, a new game begins. So if you're playing this at home, maybe you can have 2 Brajaraks or 3 if you have a big family or people you live with. But a fun game to play. You can play at night in the dark using torches. The Brajarak hides somewhere in a hall or designated area, and the finders only have 60 seconds to find him or her. So there are a few different variations of the game Brajarak, but go have some fun. Go have some fun playing that game. Be active, hide in a good spot, and remember the Brajarak is the person who hides, okay? So that is how Indigenous Australians used to play this game. Alright. This game is called Apwati. The background. Accounts from various parts of Australia outline bowling type games using rounded stones. A game of rolling stones was played near Warina in Central Australia. Another rolling game was observed being played on a river flat at Goondiwindi in Queensland. Men used to roll the stones as far as they could to show their strength, or roll them towards other stones, or between markers to demonstrate their accuracy in bowling. This activity is named Apawati, which means stone in the language of the Eastern Arente of Central Australia. This is a game of bowling accuracy in which players aim to roll a ball between two markers of skittles. The game can be played with 2 players or as a team event involving 2 or more players in each team. Now, if you don't have someone to play with, you can also do this individually and you can work on your skills. The playing area: mark lines about 10 to 20 meters apart depending on the age and ability of players. So you can start closer, guys, and then go further and further away. 2 stakes, 30 centimeters apart, are placed in the center of the area. If several sets of stakes are to be set up, these should be 2 to 3 meters apart along the center line. Equipment: use tennis or bocce balls as the rounded stones, or you could use socks or anything that can roll at your house. Cricket stumps or cone markers may be used outdoors. Stakes or markers and Kanga cricket stumps or pins, skittles, may be used for courts and indoors. I've just used 2 drink bottles for my game. Then you set up your game similar to what you see on the screen, and then you can begin. So make it a game, make it a competition, verse someone, or try and develop your skills, and you're trying to roll it in between the 2 markers. Set it further and further apart. You can set the markers closer together or further away. You can go for longer distance or shorter distance, but have a go at this activity and try some different ways. So that game is Apawati. Alright guys, this game is called DRE Ku Chi. So DRE Ku Chi. Now, the equipment you need for this game is 1 ball and 1 skittle, or something that can stand up. I used drink bottles and I used some soft foam dice, but you could use whatever you have. Now, the background of this game. This ball throwing and hitting game was played by the Deary people from the Lake Erie in South Australia. The balls were called Ku Chi. This mini-game skill activity is named for the Deary people who played the game of Ku Chi. The aim of this activity is to roll a ball, to rebound off the wall, and to hit the skittle. So your aim is to roll something or throw something against the wall, and then after it bounces on the wall, it hits its target. Its skittle, its drink bottle, whatever you have and whatever your target is. You can play as individuals or in pairs. You need an open space with a rebound wall. Players place a skittle 1 to 3 meters from a wall. From a line 5 to 10 meters in front of the wall, players will roll up to 5 tennis balls in a turn to rebound off the wall and attempt to knock over the skittle. The fewer the number of balls used to knock over the skittle, the better. So have a few balls that you can use and line up behind your starting point, and you will throw from there at the wall and then try and hit the skittle. So you can make it further or closer, whatever you need, and then you can make the game progressively harder. If the skittle is knocked over, it is moved 1 meter further away. So if you knock over the skittle, you move it further away from the wall. If the skittle is missed, the skittle is moved 1 meter closer to the wall. So if you miss, you make it easier by putting the skittle or the drink bottle closer to that wall as well. A goal line can be set 5 to 7 meters from the rebound wall. A goal is scored when a player has successfully been able to progress the skittle meter by meter back across the goal line. variations. Students alternate their rolling hand. Vary the angle of the rebound to increase the difficulty of the activity. Vary the distance of the roll and distance the skittle is away from the wall. So that is the game there, guys. Now, when you play the game, you can play it in different variations. Use whichever one you think is most appropriate for you, and you can try all the different variations as well. It should be a fun game to have a go at, but let me know how you go in the comments. All right, guys. See you in the next game. Alright guys, for the next game I'm going to explain what I use before I explain what the game is. Now you can either use a long sock, a football sock, or just a long sock, or a stocking, and then you can shove some other socks up the top so it's nice and soft, and then you can throw it and it has its tail, it has its end. I was throwing it like this, but if you need to, a little bit easier, you can throw it with an overarm throw holding the top of your socks, and then just the tail follows behind it, and hopefully it goes. Alright, this game is called Calcadoon Kian. The background. In areas of North Queensland, a game of throwing skill was played. A large bone, such as an emu shin bone, with twine attached to it, was thrown over a net, used to catch emus, into a pit or hole. Considering the distance to the hole, great skill was required to correctly aim the bone and ensure it did not touch the net. Language. The game is called Kian, which means to play, in the Wik-Munkan language of North Queensland. The Calcadoon people from around the Mount Isa area also played a game similar to the one outlined, and their connection has been recognised as part of the name of this game. Short description. This activity involves throwing a ball into a small bin target as many times as possible, as part of a tabloid activity or skill or game. Players play singly or in groups of 2 to 4 people. A designated indoor or outdoor area suitable for the activity. Equipment. Use foxtail or tennis ball in a stocking or long football sock as the bone. The twine attached. When a ball in a stocking is used, the length of the foxtail may be adjusted. Use a large plastic bin or hoop as a pit or hole. Players in groups of 2 to 4 line up behind one another. Players hold the foxtail a short distance away from the ball and take it in turns to attempt to throw the foxtail ball into the small bin from 3 to 5 meters away. So give that game a shot, guys. Have some fun with it. Make it into a competition. Who can get the most in, or who can get the most in the fewest amount of shots, or 60-second timer. How many can you get in 60 seconds? Lots of different ways you can play that game, but lots of fun, and enjoy that one. And let's go on to the next.
Mr. Reid is never going to find this. Mr. Reid, you can start now.
This game is called Ko'abangan. A game called Ko'abangan was a finding object game, observed being played in the early 1900s by the Kokomini boys of North Queensland. The object commonly used was a goanna claw, but other objects were also used. A player hides an object in a designated area and the other player attempts to find it. You can play this with at least one other person or more people. You just need an area that you can all play in. You need equipment, an object such as a tennis ball or paperclip for a goanna claw. A number of short bushy trees are required, but you can also use areas around your house or your backyard. The players sit in a circle with their heads low and hands over their faces. One player hides the object somewhere in the playing area. On a signal being given by the hider, the players jump up and start looking for the hidden object. The idea is to be the first to find the object within a set time. The player finding the object has the next turn. Variations. Use a number of different objects. Restrict the size of the playing area. Players are blindfolded. Play in an indoor hall or similar using a tennis ball to hide. So this game can be played lots of different ways. You can set a time limit on it. You can make it 60 seconds. Can you find in 60 seconds? If you don't, you lose. There's lots of different ways you can play this game. But another game for you guys to play, so have fun with that one. And yeah, play it with someone else and it should be a really good time. Now let's get to the last part of the PE lesson. Alright guys, and that is it for PE for this week. Hopefully you learned something about Indigenous culture and how they used to play games traditionally. What I have done though is I've posted a few more minute to win it challenges. I've actually just attached them to the seesaw post, so just below this video link there are a few other challenges that you can complete. Have a go, get your time for how many, just get your score for your 60 seconds and post it below for which challenges you chose, and have a bit of competition with other people, but also just have some fun and challenge yourself and see if you can do better your second or your third try. Don't just do one try, have a few goes and try and get better and better. Other than that guys, Mr. Reid is done for today. Have an awesome week, have an awesome day, and I will see you in the next video next week. See you guys.